Hello, everyone. Officially, good morning. It's so nice to see all of you here and happy Pride Month. So, the topic for today is allyship at work. And because it is June, this is our way of sharing, learning, and celebrating Pride Month. It's another HR spotlight. It's part of the series where we highlight the different functions, different skills, even that are needed for HR professionals and for HR organizations. For today, we're going to look at that from an allyship perspective. All right. I know a lot of you here already, and you already know me, but there might be some of you here who are new. So let me introduce myself. You can call me Elisha, and I'm a management consultant. The firm is Elisha Corpus Consulting, and what we do is culture transformation for different companies. Part of that would be leadership development, organizational development, and of course, diversity, equity, and inclusion. When we look at our work in DEI, of course, we do that with private companies. But the initiative that I am most proud of would be our Work as One conferences. So, Work as One is a series of sessions that we do every October or November. And it's a virtual conference on diversity, equity, and inclusion that we've started doing since 2020. So in 2020, we had that first series where we tackled very basic concepts like defining diversity, equity, inclusion, etc. In 2021, we looked at how inclusion applies in everyday interactions. For example, even in the way we use English in the classroom or in the workplace, these are sources of possible exclusion and inclusion that we can do. So we looked at how inclusion plays out in the everyday. In 2022, we did Work as One Year 3, which is more about personalizing inclusion, looking at how we can look inwards, dig deeper into ourselves to see what are some ways we can personally relate more with inclusion. For example, we had a session on body weight and external appearances. We all have external appearances that people perceive differently, people perceive in different ways. So we looked at how we could use that to tap into diversity, equity, and inclusion. And of course, 2023, last year, was year 4, and it was all about imagining an inclusive future. We looked at what future might be like if we are able to utilize technology for inclusion, for example. So this is something that we're very proud of. We do every year. This year, if we do it, it'll be year 5. So hopefully you stick around with us for that and we can continue learning more about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's just something I like to talk about because the topic for today is really centered on this idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what exactly are we talking about today? So in this webinar, we will, number 1, define allyship. I'm sure you've heard that word being thrown around a lot, especially kapag Pride Month, diba? So i-define natin yan for today. Next, let's discuss why allyship is such an essential element to successfully embed DEI in an organization. Let's talk about why it's important, especially for HR. I see someone in the comment said they're not in HR. Kung hindi kayo HR, okay lang. You're also welcome here. These sessions are for HR professionals, for leaders who are not in HR, also for aspiring HR professionals, and even just people who may be interested in that. At the end of the day, lahat naman tayo involved in the human resource practices of our organizations. So it's important that you're here and we're glad that you're here. When we look at why allyship is important, you'll see that it's not just an HR thing. It's something the whole organization will need to be involved with. And then, of course, the last thing that we will do is we are going to identify relevant actions that we can do now to become even more active allies at work. Siyempre, hindi tayo aalis today nang wala tayong tangible action na pwedeng gawin. All right? So that's it. These are the 3 things that we are going to talk about this morning. So simulan natin with our very, very quick question for all of you. So did your company or will your company do something for Pride Month? Since my 1 week left pa naman for June, I know may mga ibang companies na may pahabol dyan. So let us know. Know if your company is not or will not do anything. And if yes, let us know what activity or event your company did. So no right or wrong answers naman. It's just a way to look at some examples that you may have. All right. So someone said employee spotlight. That's great. Stories are always very, very powerful. So kung no naman, okay lang yan. Don't worry. This is an opportunity for the future, di ba? So may diversity talk din yung company. Great to hear. Yes, there was a Pride video answering what does Pride mean to you. So that's great. Like having things documented are easy ways to preserve that knowledge and to share that, right? Right? My Pride opening celebration event. Oh, fun! Nag-Pride March kayo. Sayang no, in QC, inulan, kaya hindi natuloy. Di nag-perform yung Beanie. But yeah, so I'm seeing more and more companies are joining the Pride Marches. All right. Okay, so we do have a lot of great examples, but we also have quite a lot of people who are saying no. So again, that's totally okay. At least you're here now, right? And maybe this is something you can share with your companies in the future. All right. So let's look at why we asked that question. So kahit na marami sa atin dito ngayon na hindi pa nagka-program or initiative, actually, the trend that we're seeing globally is that more and more companies are taking action on diversity, equity, and inclusion. As a consultant, I can tell you that Pride Month is usually the gateway to DEI. What do I mean by that? Ang nakikita ko is, ang nagre-request ng mga talk, usually para sa Pride Month. Tapos pag na-realize nila na hindi lang pala tuwing Pride Month dapat nagpe-pay attention sa DEI at saka sila nag-invest more on these initiatives. So Pride Month is actually a great way to get companies started to be interested in DEI. And globally, we see that more and more companies are making investments on DEI. If we look at data on that, so this data is actually from a survey done with Slack. So if you know Slack, it's a platform that companies use para siyang Microsoft Teams or Facebook Workplace, if you're familiar with those. Internally, people in the company can chat there, share files, use it as a workflow process, things like that. So this survey was done in cooperation with Slack. From 2022, they surveyed around 10,000 professionals from 6 countries, and Asia is included there. So in Asia, they surveyed Japan as the representative country. What they found is that a majority of organizations are very much still in the compliant stage. If you look at the data here in the left side of your screen, what this is saying is that at least 1/3 of the companies mentioned, their employees think that they are still just complying with the laws and legal requirements of their countries to follow DEI. Ibig sabihin, marami pang opportunities for growth to make that more integrated and sustainable in their organizations. What this also tells me is that individual allyship is needed to push companies to the further stages. When more and more employees are pushing for change, when more and more employees are asking for inclusion initiatives, companies become aware that this is something they need to invest more in. They become more aware that it's an employee need that they have to fulfill. The thing about allyship, though, is if we look at the data, only 41% of quote unquote straight employees report participating in DEI efforts versus 54% of LGBTQ plus employees. So this data, I'm going to tell you now, it is just from the United States. So they only surveyed around 4,000 LGBTQ plus individuals and 60,000, that's across 60,000 employees. So 60,000 employees and 4,000 of them self-identified as LGBT. So again, it's US data, but I'm sharing it with you because it's a great example of what trends we're possibly seeing. Even though individual allyship is important to push DEI in organizations, only 41% of straight people are allies. Ibig sabihin, when it comes to being an ally, there's still a lot of opportunity for people from the more privileged groups, mamaya explain natin yan, to be able to help more and support more. All right? So again, this data is important so we can see the difference there and the opportunity for growth. It's important to have allies. Kasi kahit na, di ba sabi natin, 54% of LGBTQ plus employees are already supporting, that's not enough. It's not enough that only the people from historically marginalized communities are helping each other. There are a lot of benefits when people from more privileged groups support the advocacies of the groups that are historically marginalized. According to this study, what they found was that when men are engaged in gender inclusion, 96% of companies see progress versus 30% of companies when men are not engaged. This shows us that when people become allies, especially when people from more privileged group become allies, it actually helps the initiatives to become more successful. This is a study done by BCG, or the Boston Consulting Group. They surveyed 17,500 employees, interviewed more than 200 senior executives from 21 countries. So that's a very good representative data that we have here. Of course, it's not just the men who are allies, right? We all have different privileges that we can use to become better allies. But I'm just sharing this with you as an example so we can really drive in the point. It's important for allies to get involved because advocacies become more successful when we are supporting these causes. All right? So what does it mean to be an ally? We've been talking about its importance in organizations especially, but what does it mean to be an ally? Let me know in the chat. Type one word or one phrase that comes to mind for you. Let's see. What are some interpretations that you have there? Or if iisipin natin, ano ba yan sa Filipino, no? Anong word yung pwede natin gamitin to understand that better? Let's see. Any, okay, allies respect and support, strong team members, strong group, supporter, kakampi. Mm-hmm. Someone that understands other LGBTQ plus members, kakampi, support. Someone who assists, yes, accepts and support. Great. All right. So very good definitions, everyone, right? Teammate. If we think about Filipino, it's kakampi, minsan pwede rin kaibigan, kasama, other, in other ways, kasabuat, di ba? Yung magkaalay, magkasangga. So if you think about it, it's those Filipino words with the ka, di ba? Kasi ibig sabihin, magkasama kayo in some way. It's not just you. Di ba pag may ka, ibig sabihin, hindi ka mag-isa. May kasama. So implicitly, what we're saying here is allyship requires that togetherness. All right. In psychology, in Filipino psychology, there's a concept called kapwa. And in a lot of Filipino psychology studies, they say that kapwa is actually the core construct of our Filipino identities, meaning we're very relational. And once we connect with you on a deep level, we see the kapwa as someone who is not an ibang tao. So di ka na iba sa akin kasi kapwa kita. It's kind of like that, which I think is great that a lot of you are giving Filipino terms that could relate to that kapwa-ness of it all. All right. So let's define allyship. Let's define allyship and what the journals tell us about that. A lot of you said understanding, supporting, assisting, which are all very much correct. But I'm going to add a little bit of challenge to that because our definition actually challenges us to go beyond just understanding and supporting. Allyship is a strategy to achieve any DEI outcome whereby people possessing socially advantaged identities utilize those advantaged identities to create change. Medyo mahaba, no? So, ulitin ko yung definition tapos i-break down natin siya. Allyship is a strategy to achieve any DEI outcome whereby people possessing socially advantaged identities utilize those advantaged identities to create change. Let's break it down. What this definition tells us is that allyship is a strategy. It's not just a feeling, right? It's not just feeling like I'm one with my LGBTQIA plus friends. It's not just a feeling of, nakakaawa naman yung mga may hirap na hindi nakakakain. So it's not just emotions. It's really intentionally making plans to strategize towards a certain outcome. Now, we keep on saying socially advantaged identities. This is where privilege comes in. So later on, we'll define that further. But really, you can think about it as the people who have these privileges, we can become allies when we use those privileges to make change happen. Another thing we need to underscore in this definition is to create change. Allyship needs to result to change. Hindi lang pwedeng sabihin sa mga kaibigan natin na LGBT na, "Uy, support kita dyan. Tanggap naman kita eh." Pero walang nagbago, di ba? Yung iba niyong friends, baka hindi pa rin siya tanggap. Yung iba niyong colleagues, baka pinapagtawanan pa rin siya. So, allyship requires us to push towards some sort of change in behaviors, in norms, and in the system that we're in. All right? So this is the challenge for all of us. Beyond just recognizing others, beyond just respect, acceptance, and support, beyond just being a kakampi, or kasama, kaibigan. We want allyship to be an active way of strategizing and taking action towards change. All right? Now, in dictionary.com in 2021, allyship was actually the most popular word that people searched. But what they found was there was a word before allyship that people would search for. That's performative. So even though a lot of people are interested in what allyship is, it seems like maraming mas nakakaalam or mas nakakakita ng examples of performative allyship. So what is performative allyship? Performative allyship refers to easy and costless actions that often do not challenge the status quo and are motivated by the desire to accrue personal benefits. Let's repeat that. Performative allyship refers to easy and costless actions that often do not challenge the status quo and are motivated by the desire to accrue personal benefits. Performative allyship, minsan dito natin pwede i-question yung motivations ng mga tao or ng mga kumpanya. Totoo ba na pag sinabi nilang we support Pride, talaga bang they mean it? How do we know if they mean it? Maybe if we look at their hiring practices, are they still discriminating people based on any type of social or gender markers? Are they promoting women who have the qualifications that are right for those leadership roles? Kung hindi, edi ibig sabihin, performative allyship lang yung pagsabi nila that they support Pride Month. Allyship is real and true when it challenges the status quo to make some sort of change happen. All right? We looked at the definition of performative allyship so that you can talk about both. Of course, our goal is allyship. But these days, marami ring performative allyship na nakikita tayo. Sometimes, people and companies may not be aware that what they are doing is just being performative. So the more we can differentiate the two, then the better we can guide our companies towards becoming true allies and not just performative allies. Lalo na sa mga HR natin dito and sa mga leaders, it's up to us to really question and be critical about the initiatives of our organizations. Being critical doesn't mean we hate on these initiatives, right? It just means that we have a critical lens through which we view these initiatives and we ask questions so we can reflect on them further. Pwede pa rin naman i-appreciate yung mga ganong efforts ng mga tao at ng mga kumpanya. Alright? Our goal is really to be active allies and ultimately even advocates for historically marginalized groups. Our goal is to not just be performative allies, but to push those boundaries so we can be advocates of the cause. Siyempre, becoming true active allies means we let the voices of the historically marginalized groups to shine through. Hindi natin i-co-op na tinatawag, so hindi natin kukuhanin yung spotlight from them. As active allies and advocates, we simply amplify the voices of historically marginalized groups by using our own privileged identities to help with that. Pero hindi tayo yung bida. Kung hindi naman tayo part ng historically marginalized groups na yun. That's what makes it difficult to be allies, because Of course, we all have different parts of our identity that maybe we may feel marginalized when we talk about these identities. Pero, situational kasi yan. May ibang instances, for example, na baka privileged ka dun sa situation na yon, and there are other people who are part of historically marginalized groups who may need you to be allies for them and to let them have the spotlight. So that's the tricky thing about allyship. It gets into these talks about privilege and identity, and nagbabago siya situation from situation. Kaya dapat inaaral natin itong mga bagay na to so we can engage in more discussions about it. All right? Of course, it's a very short webinar, so this is not something we can dig into at this moment. But now that you know these basic definitions and these basic words, these concepts, I hope it encourages you to read up more and to engage in more discussions about them. If I were to summarize what allyship is, there are 3 dimensions of that I teach to my clients that we should pay attention to. Allyship is number 1. It's about self-awareness. It encourages us to look at our own identities and our own privileges. Allyship is intentional. There's a strategy to it. Diba? Sabi natin kanina sa definition of allyship. Allyship is action-oriented, meaning may ginagawa tayo to make change the outcome. So you can summarize it in this way para madaling intindihin at ma-memorize. Allyship is being self-aware, intentional, and action-oriented. Iisa-isahin naman natin sila as we go through the different ways that you can become a more active ally. Now, let's look into how we can be more active allies. First, let's dig into self-awareness. We have to increase our own self-awareness so that we can be better allies to others. So, paano natin yan pwede gawin? To increase our self-awareness, we have to examine our privilege. Privilege can be quite a triggering word to some people. Lalo na if you look at the Western culture in the US, for example, they're having a very hard time now with DEI in the US because just talking about privilege triggers a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, a lot of passions for people. For us, it's okay if maybe you're getting a little bit riled up. My ask of you is let's talk about the definitions muna. So hopefully we can all understand better how privilege applies to allyship. Privilege is an unearned set of advantages granted only to a particular person or group of people, exercised to the exclusion of others. I'll repeat that definition. Privilege is an unearned set of advantages granted only to a particular person or group of people, exercised to the exclusion of others. So let's zoom in on unearned set of advantages. These are different attributes that may give power over other groups. For example, those who are born in a first world country versus those who are born in developing countries or yung third world, diba, na tinatawag like us. If, let's say, for example, if I were in a room with an American who is white, a Caucasian, mas may privilege siya because we know that in society, we value lightness of skin, di ba? May ganun tayong unconscious biases for people who are lighter skinned. So in that situation, mas may privilege yung American na pinanganak sa Amerika na white yung skin versus sa akin na Pilipino, pinanganak sa Pilipinas, hindi masyadong kasing puti niya. Di ba? So that's an example of it. Another example of privilege is being born into a certain socio-economic status. 'Di ba? Minsan lagi tayong nagjo-joke, sana apo na lang tayo ng mga C, 'di ba? Ng mga may-ari ng malls, Robinsons, SM. So these jokes come from somewhere because we know that those people born into those families have privileges that we don't enjoy kasi hindi natin sila ka-apelyido. Alright? So hopefully that's an example that can help you think about privilege more. Kung Zobel ka, hindi mo naman kasalanan na Zobel ka at mayaman ka, di ba? So these are unearned set of advantages. They didn't do anything to have that. But because people have that privilege, they may have some power over other groups. And sometimes, if we don't use that privilege in a correct way, it could lead to exclusion of others, whether intentionally or unintentionally. All right? Are there other examples of privilege that you can think of? Maybe you can type it in the chat. May mga naiisip ba kayo? I have some more examples, but I'd love to know if there are others that that come to mind for you. Let's see here. What are some examples that maybe you can think of? Yeah, yes, pretty privilege. That's very, very true in any culture, diba? In psychology, for example, there are these biases, and one of those biases that they talk about is the halo effect. So, yung halo effect, sabi nila, kapag maganda daw yung tao, automatic akala natin mabait siya, matalino siya, magaling siya, kasi may privilege na na-assign dun sa tao na yun. So, very true. Good example there. Meron pa. So, oh yeah, free airport lounges. If you think about it, right? The people who can probably afford to eat at a restaurant in the airport, sila yung may privilege to use the free airport lounges na may free food. Kasi meron na silang na-invest na money and may money sila to invest in those business classes and in getting points. So it's the people who actually are nagtitipid and hindi sila frequent flyers or maybe hindi sila business class. Sila yung walang free food na dapat bumili ng mas mahal na food sa airports. That's such a great example. Height as well could be a privilege. We look up literally to people who are taller, right? So other examples, let's say if you're going to a mall, 'di ba? Alam natin kung ano yung malls na pang quote-unquote social versus ano yung malls na mas quote-unquote pang masa, 'di ba? So for example, kung nakadamit ka ng medyo pang bahay, yung tamad-tamad ka lang, saan ka mag-grocery, di ba? Minsan sasabihin ng mga tao, ayoko mag-grocery dyan sa Greenbelt or sa Rockwell kasi di ako nakabihis today. Doon na lang ako mag-grocery sa SM muna. Baka para walang makakita sa akin. Kasi nakapang bahay ako today. So, di ba? That tells us that there's a privilege we assign to the way people dress or even the status that these malls or public spaces have. Being male in a male-dominated industry, Yes. So, di ba? Hindi naman pinili nung mga lalaki na ipanganak silang lalaki, pero in these male-dominated industries, dahil sila yung mas majority, mas may privilege sila. These are very good examples, everyone. So, last one that I see here in the chat, private schools versus public schools. You're right, diba? There are times when we automatically think na pag Povedan or pag taga-Assumption, mas social, mas magagaling mag-English, so mas napipili sila for different opportunities. Versus yung mga taga-public school na matalino rin naman. Maganda rin naman yung pinag-aralan nila. All right? So good. These are examples of privilege that we can think of. I ask you all to think about that because I hope that we can reframe the way we talk about privilege. Kasi yung common misconception is, sasabihin ng mga tao, I don't like it when people call me privileged. Pinaghirapan ko naman yung narating ko, di ba? Hindi lang ako nakarating dito dahil mayaman ako, or matangkad ako, or maganda ako, di ba? So, sometimes it's triggering for people to talk about privilege because we may think that it invalidates the hard work that we put in. But I hope you're seeing with the examples that we have to reframe privilege. When we reframe that, we can say something like, acknowledging my privilege doesn't mean I do not work hard or that I have an easy life. This means that other people may face challenges I may not have to go through. So, ibig sabihin lang nun, baka meron kang mga ibang bagay na madali sa'yo, pero challenging para sa iba because of a privilege that you enjoy. I'll give you an example from my own experience. So, for me, I actually studied in private school. So I was Povedan, all-girls school, and typical sa stereotype, ayan, pwede niyo pagtawanan since ako naman magsasabi. So, totoo naman, hindi talaga marunong mag-Filipino yung mga tao kasi English yung way namin of talking. Mas nasanay lang ako mag-Filipino because I went to UP. So totoong English yung mga tao. I was very comfortable with English. And so when I studied in the States, that's not something that I found to be challenging. I didn't even think about it as much. I just knew that when I got there, I would study and talk to other people in English. That's it. But in airports, sometimes when I sit beside Filipinos and I talk to them, they say na kinakabahan sila kasi baka mag-nosebleed kaagad sila pag sa immigration pa lang kinausap sila ng English. So, yun yung mga privilege na, oo nga no, it makes me realize na because I grew up with that system that is very much comfortable in English, I don't find it challenging to speak that language with Native American speakers versus other people who may not have had that privilege as me. Natatakot sila mag-English. Kinakabahan sila mag-English with the Americans. So that's just a way to illustrate that, you know, these are challenges that maybe we don't have to face, but other people are going through. So again, lahat tayo may privilege in one way or another, and it's not a bad thing to acknowledge that privilege. This visual that I'm going to show you, it's actually my favorite way of describing privilege. So, diba, this is a movie of Catherine and Alden na magka-comeback, diba? So, may sequel daw siya. And the characters here, they are OFWs in Hong Kong. Tapos yung famous line ni Catherine, diba, na favorite ko when I discuss privilege. Ang choice para lang sa may pera. So, this is really the best way to describe privilege. When you have privilege in the situation, more choices and more opportunities are open for you. These may not even be choices or opportunities that you are consciously aware of. So, kailangan talaga pinapag-isipan natin at pinapag-usapan yung privilege. Abangan natin sa sequel if they bring this up again and we can use more examples to talk about privilege. All right? And so, when we assign unearned advantages or privileges to some groups, we could potentially be oppressing others. We cannot talk about privilege without talking about oppression. This is actually something that I learned from my colleagues who are working more in the development sector. They're working with advocacy groups and NGOs that are pushing for gender equality and gender rights. So, ang point of view nila is, kailangan, pag pinapag-usapan natin yung privilege, i-discuss din yung oppression because it's the other side of the coin. So even if we don't have a lot of time today, I want to make sure to talk to you a little bit about oppression. Oppression is an undeserved set of disadvantages against a particular person or group of people. Kung yung privilege ay unearned advantage, okay, so hindi naman, minsan wala tayong ginawa to have that privilege, ganun din yung oppression. Minsan wala namang ginawa yung mga tao para ma-oppress sila ng ganun. Hindi nila deserve na ma-disadvantage because of how they were born, because of who they are, or what they look like. So that's what happens when oppression is created in a system. The thing about privilege and oppression, though, is it's normalized through social norms. Kaya mabilis tayo nakaisip ng examples, di ba? Because these are things that have become part of our society. It's become part of our beliefs, whether it's true or not. So, di ba? Kailangan na i-question natin yung mga ganitong social norms and beliefs. Because baka hindi natin alam na o-oppress na pala natin yung ibang tao and hindi natin nagagamit yung privilege natin in a productive way. Alright? So everyone, that's the first tangible step that we can take to become more active allies. If we were in a workshop, we can reflect on this, but it's a short webinar. So siguro yung challenge homework ko sa inyo mamayang gabi or in the weekend, try to reflect on your own privileges. Diba? Kahit na hindi tayo lahat mga Ayala or mga Zobel, meron privilege yan. You have something in you that you could use to help or support other historically marginalized and disadvantaged groups. So please think about your privileges and try to make a list if you can. I found that it's been really, really helpful in increasing my self-awareness. Another thing we can do is to become more intentional in our strategies. So, diba, nandito na tayo sa intentionality part. We must think of DEI as a strategy that is part of the way our organizations run. In the past, maybe think about 15, 20 years ago, DEI was just an extra thing. A lot of the DEI work sometimes would just fall into CSR or corporate social responsibility. Minsan nagiging parang charity work lang siya or volunteer work ng organizations. Nowadays, that doesn't cut it anymore. DEI is actually part of the way the business runs. In a lot of companies, especially the more progressive Fortune 500 companies, they even have a vice president for DEI. Minsan, yung DEI person, kapantay niya yung HR. Or in some companies, nagre-report siya directly to the HR, which is still a very, very high position. So what we can see now is, mahuhuli tayo. if our companies are not putting more effort into looking at DEI. So, bakit siya kailangan part ng strategy? Because DEI is actually not isolated from your other HR practices. When you think about training employees, how do you instill in them behaviors that they can use to be respectful and professional to their colleagues? If you think about leaders, how do you train them to coach depending on the person? Yung kaya nilang i-individualize and personalize yung approaches nila. If you look at that from an HR perspective, that's just training and development or leadership development. But what we're seeing now is you have to infuse diversity, equity, and inclusion into these things so they can be more effective. So what I'm going to share with you is our own DEI approach here in ECC. So this is what we share with our clients. This is the DEI maturity model on 3 levels that we use with our clients. Kaya medyo madaming words yung slide I'm going to tell you now because this is the exact slide that we share with them. And I'd love to share it with you as well. All right. So this is based on Josh Berson's Elevating Equity content. Sa Josh Bersin, that's a consulting firm, and Josh Bersin is actually one of like the gurus, HR masters, people globally that we listen to and we study his research. So if we think about DEI in companies, there are 3 maturity models. Start at the bottom of the triangle. So as you can see, the bottom is accept and recognize. At this stage, companies are just aware of diversity. So baka naririnig nyo na may DEI, there's such a thing as DEI, there's some knowledge building, maybe some webinars about it here and there. And from an organizational perspective, it's mostly just focused on compliance and risk mitigation. Basta sumusunod sa batas, nandun na tayo sa accept and recognize part. Based on my experience, I can tell you that a lot of companies here in the Philippines are in the accept and recognize stage. So medyo compliance level pa lang yung ginagawa ng mga tao. Next is respect. In this level, there is an understanding of diversity and there are beginning conversations towards inclusion. Maybe in teams, people are starting to talk more about who are you and how would you like me to treat you? What is inclusion for you? So nasisimulan na yung mga ganong open conversations. From an organizational perspective, this is where they actually start showing that they want to integrate and change systems to be more inclusive. Usually, it begins with some sort of data gathering and needs assessment. It's also when leaders are beginning to be actively engaged in DEI. May mga leaders na nagsusponsor ng DEI initiatives, hindi lang event, okay? In accept and recognize, pwedeng pa-isa-isa o 2 event lang. Versus in the respect level, they are starting to have actual programs about DEI. For example, maybe to encourage more inclusive hiring, instead of just hiring from Metro Manila schools, the company could start engaging with schools in the provinces para hindi Metro Manila centric yung mga teams and organizations. So starting those initiatives, now you can see that you're at that respect level. Respect dahil we're acknowledging the strengths that diversity can bring to the table and respecting the different skill sets that they bring. Kasi nga, sinisimulan na natin isali yung mga diverse individuals. Now, on the very last stage, this is celebrate. In this stage, this is where companies don't just respect, they actually intentionally seek that diversity. So sila na mismo yung nagli-lead ng DEI in their own industries. In this stage, maybe companies are actually teaching others. Their leaders get invited to talk about DEI and share their own initiatives. We also start to see that actual policy changes are happening and structural changes are happening, meaning they have diverse boards, diverse mancoms or leadership teams. Hindi lang lahat lalaki or hindi lang lahat babae. Maganda yung distribution. Hindi lang lahat ay a family person married with kids. May mga tao na hindi ganun yung situation. Hindi lahat nag-graduate sa Metro Manila School. Merong iba na galing sa ibang part ng Pilipinas, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. So, these are things that structurally dapat nakikita natin yung diversity. When you get to the celebrate stage, it's more likely that the company can sustain the DEI initiatives that they started. So ito yung tatlong stages. As you can already tell, madaming nasa accept and recognize. Very konti yung nasa celebrate stage. Some people may ask, dapat ba matapos mo muna yung accept and recognize bago mag-jump sa respect, bago mag-jump sa celebrate? Not necessarily, because there are elements that you can do concurrently. It really just depends on the plan and the strategy of the organization. All right? So I show you this because this is a way to hopefully start framing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Especially when we talk about it to leaders, yung mga hindi pa nila alam to, it could sound like a very, very, very big thing, diba? But when you have frameworks and models that you use, then it becomes easier to show what that could look like as a strategy. All right? So now, question for all of you. And I see that some people are starting to give their answers in the chat. That's great. But for those who want to be anonymous, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to launch. There we go. I launched a poll on Zoom. Let me know what stage of the DEI approach is your organization in. So are you in accept and recognize, in respect, or in celebrate? And it's anonymous, so don't worry, I will not know who's answering what. All right, give it a few more seconds. Okay, let's see here. And I'm going to end the poll so you can all see the results. Yep. So that's why it's a triangle, diba? Because as expected, a lot of companies are in the base and kumukonte yung organizations as we go up the levels. All right. So this is something to think about because it could be a competitive advantage of your company to be in the respect and in the celebrate level. I see here, see Ramon Saspa, ayan, your company is in the C level. I don't know if it's all right with you, but would you mind sharing like an example of initiative that maybe your company has done to be in that level? Yeah, feel free to talk or chat, whatever works.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm so lucky to be in an organization wherein we don't look what people is or who they are, but instead we are appreciating them and then encouraging them to um be better person and share their knowledges. And the good thing about it is that we have people belonging in a senior management position, members of the LGBTQIA+. And there you go.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for sharing that and for talking, no? Belonging is a word that was mentioned. So that's also a very, very important concept in DEI. And sometimes even just at the team level, if you can create that sense of belonging, that already puts your organization at a very great place to start pushing DEI. All right, so thank you so much for that example, and for all of you as well for answering the poll. Don't feel dejected if your company is in the accept and recognize level. Journey naman siya. DEI is a journey, and that just means there's no way to go but up, di ba? And kahit na yung mga companies na nasa higher levels na, syempre they have to keep on working at it so it becomes sustainable. So it's always a journey, and there's always more room for improvement. All right? So that is what we can do to become more intentional. We looked at strategy because the more we have a framework and a model, then we can describe it better to our leaders to get their buy-in. Now, the very last part is to become more active allies, we can take a more action-oriented approach. I'd like to introduce a concept here called subtle acts of exclusion. We have to become more vigilant of the subtle acts of exclusion in everyday interactions. So ano ba yung subtle acts of exclusion? We can also shorten that as SAE. These are the subtle things that people say and do, perhaps unintentionally, that have the effect of excluding others based on their marginalized dimensions of identity. All right, so I'll read that again. Subtle acts of exclusion, or SAE, are the subtle things that people say and do, perhaps unintentionally, that have the effect of excluding others based on their marginalized dimensions of identity. If you've heard of the term microaggression, that's related to this, all right? So again, if you've heard of the term microaggression, that's related to subtle acts of exclusion. But the author of this book, so this book, it's called Subtle Acts of Exclusion. The author of this book, they encourage us to reframe microaggression. Kasi daw, when we use the term microaggression, two things can happen. Number one, you're calling it micro, which means label pa lang, pinapaliit mo na yung bagay, di ba? So use subtle instead of micro. Subtle doesn't imply na maliit lang yung bagay. It just means na hindi siya ganun ka-obvious. Alright? The other thing that could happen is when you say aggressive, when you tell someone, hey, I want to talk to you about your microaggression, it could put them in a defensive state and sasabihin nila, hindi kaya ako aggressive, hindi naman kita inaaway, bakit mo sinasabing may microaggression ako? Because the word aggression can trigger that defensiveness. So, to be more open or to encourage more openness in discussion, the author was encouraging us to use subtle acts of exclusion instead. All right. So that's really the reasoning behind reframing microaggression. Now, when we think about subtle acts of exclusion or microaggressions, are there some examples in the Philippine context that you can think of? So yeah, yung mga jokes are half meant, di ba? Minsan, kapag ka mga asar ka, tapos hindi siya tinake properly, minsan sasabihin lang natin, jokes are half meant. So, pwede yon. Ano pang examples? As I give you my own thoughts, maybe you can type in the chat, okay? May mga iba, kung wari, sasabihin nila, ang galing mo naman mag-English. Kahit taga-probinsya ka, no? Ang galing-galing. So microaggression or subtle act of exclusion yun. Because you're already implying na kapag galing probinsya, hindi magaling mag-English. So kahit na praise mo yung tao, you are creating some subtle acts of exclusion that would exclude someone in the province. Yes. So yeah, when you brand some people, diba? And we think that they are not anything beyond that branding. Yung binabox natin sila into that. That's great. Pwede rin, yeah, most of the time when someone says no offense, diba? Ito, Philippine context example. Minsan sasabihin nila, no offense ha, pero sayang, ang gwapo-gwapo mo, pero bakla ka. Right? I don't know if you've heard that, but that's something that people commonly say. So, that could be a subtle act of exclusion. Kasi sasabihin mo na ngang, kahit sinasabi mong gwapo yung tao, sinabi mong sayang, bakla ka. So, that's subtly excluding people who are gay. Oh, yes, yung example sa chat. Kababae mong tao, mag-ayos ka nga, para kang tomboy manamit. Babae ka pa naman. Diba? So then you're subtly excluding someone who's actually maybe identifying as lesbian or bi or whatever that might be. Mm-hmm. When people talk about skin color, exactly, diba? They can say, ang ganda mo sana pero ang itim mo. Pagluta ka kaya. Ayan, diba? So, exclusion yan. Okay ka sana pero pogi sana kaso akla. Yeah, so, diba? These are things that we commonly hear. And the thing is, in our Filipino culture, that's very, very jokey, very diba? Gusto natin nag-aasaran, nagtatawanan. There are times when it's like a friend that you're talking to, and if sila yung nag-start nung ganong conversation, it's fun and okay lang. But there are times when it's offensive and it's an act of exclusion because people didn't ask for that comment. But if we give it, then it's subtly excluding them, diba? Yeah, so mas maganda ka kung payat ka bilang ina or ama. Yeah, so I'm single and child free, 'di ba? So the single nga. So minsan nasasabihan din 'yan, 'di ba? Bilang ina, sure ako magbabago yung isip mo in the future. Sasabihin nila sa akin, sure na naman ako, 'di ba? Okay. So a man who's not good looking and fat but has a gorgeous partner, sasabihan, 'di ba? Siguro ang yaman ng asawa mo. 'Di ba? We hear that. Or highlighting yung accent. Bisaya ka, pag medyo may iba yung pag-enunciate or pronounce. So these are examples that are very real and very true. Recently, so I was in a group, and in that group, madaming bakla, self-identified sila na bakla. Tapos so syempre ang ingay-ingay nila, ang ingay-ingay naming lahat, 'di ba? Nagpapatawa sila. And then isa lang yung individual na siya yung talagang nagjo-joke ganyan. Tapos niloloko niya yung iba, sabi niya, "Uy, bakla kayong lahat, 'di ba? Bakit ako lang nagpapatawa dito?" And in that scenario, of course, it was funny because we were all friends. It's a safe environment. It's just friends teasing friends. But it made me realize that, that relationship has to be developed first before you can say these kinds of comments. Kasi, kung hindi naman kami friends, tapos sinabi niya yun dun sa mga ibang tao dun sa group, it could easily sound like you're branding gay people as entertainers. Dapat kung bakla ka, nakakatawa ka. Diba? And that's not true. So, again, when it comes to subtle acts of exclusion, it's so hard because you have to really understand the situation, understand the context, and I think for me, the best thing to do is to try to develop a good relationship with the people around you. Once you have that basic level of trust, that basic level of communication, collaboration, and respect, then it will be easier to understand kung ano ba yung jokes na okay lang sa taong to. Ano ba yung level namin of disclosure and communication na ma-appreciate niya at hindi makakasakit sa kanya at sa ibang tao. Alright? So again, lots and lots of examples, but these are subtle because we don't always intend to exclude or to offend. That's the first thing to remember. And then another thing to remember is, yes, it really depends on the situation and the level of relationship you have. Because it is true what was just said in the chat, diba? Minsan, conversation starter talaga siya, lalo na sa cultures natin na very collectivist, very relational. So, we have to start reflecting on these norms. May times na pwedeng useful yung mga ganito, and kapag useful siya, then it's not an act of exclusion. It actually becomes humor as a way of including. All right? So that's why I think it's very, very interesting to study the Philippine context in terms of inclusion, because there's so many nuances that we can go on and on and on to talk about. I know there are a lot of examples that we can think of. But for me, I'd love to give you 3 things that we can do. I usually like giving 3 things so it's not so overwhelming. In the book that I showed you earlier, the opposite of a subtle act of exclusion would be intentional acts of inclusion, or IAI. The first thing that I think we can try to practice is to not comment on people's external appearances, like clothing or weight, etc. I think there's a way to comment na maganda yung comment, di ba? So for example, if maganda yung bihis nung isang tao na hindi naman palaging nagbibihis, you can simply say, "Oh wow, I love your look today. You look really beautiful today." Or, "Ang ganda ng suot mo today. Ang ganda ng aura mo today," di ba? Yan yung naririnig ko minsan. And that's it. You don't have to add more to that comment na yung iba, sasabihin pa nila, di ba? Ang ganda mo today ha. May bago or may pinopormahan ka. Minsan yung mga ina-add natin, dun tayo na nag-get into the subtle act of exclusion territory. So really, if you don't know how to say something, it's better to just not say it. Or if you really want to compliment someone, then just compliment what you're seeing without giving added judgment. All right? So again, magkaiba yung "I love what you're wearing today. You look really pretty," versus "You look really pretty. May bago ba?" Or parang, "Wow, saan ka punta mamaya? Nagbihis ka today ha?" So iba yon, di ba? So again, we're not overly policing what you can say, but it's more of just being sensitive that our compliments really come from good intent. Another thing that you can do to practice intentional acts of inclusion would be to take note of who doesn't get to talk during meetings and find ways to support them to share their ideas. I see this a lot in workshops. I think there are lots of people, especially in countries that are not like native English speakers. People are not as confident in expressing themselves in English. And minsan, kapag ka-workshop or meeting, akala agad ng ibang tao na, dapat mag-English lang kasi professional setting. I hope we can take that mindset out because it's also professional to speak in Filipino, especially if your company is a Filipino company. And if lahat naman kayo dun, Filipino na nakakaintindi ng Filipino or whatever language, Filipino language you use, diba? So, yung mga ganitong bagay, we can pay attention to those in meetings. If we see that someone isn't sharing or talking, maybe approach them after the meeting and ask, hey, kumusta ka na? Diba? What did you think of the meeting? Okay naman ba? Did you have any thoughts that you weren't able to share earlier? If meron, sabihin mo lang if you need help. Supportahan kita na iparating yan dun sa boss or dun sa team. So there are ways that we can encourage people to share their ideas more. Or maybe not everyone is confident speaking in a meeting. So what you can do is to say, okay, like we can take 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, write your thoughts down, and then we'll read those thoughts later. Kasi baka may iba na mas gusto nila magsulat muna bago magsalita. So these are just ways that we could include more people in the conversation. I zoned in on meetings because this is something that happens in pretty much any company and in any organization. So meetings are great practice areas for inclusion. And then last is to verbalize your allyship and to tell stories about it. If you really feel like you are an ally and you want to be a stronger ally, say it. Dahil hindi naman siya obvious, di ba? Like there's nothing in me, for example, that will say I'm an ally. So it's good to talk about it a lot. Express it verbally so other people around you will know that you are an ally that they can approach for support. It's also good to tell stories about it. Why are you an ally? What was the moment that made you realize that allyship is important? So these are stories that can be very powerful to encourage other people as well to be allies. All right? So these are the 3 quick things that I hope you can practice to be more intentional in including others. All right, let us summarize, everyone. Okay, so summarize tayo. I hope you can remember the 3 things that we talked about because at the count of 3, I'm going to ask you to unmute and then let's try to recall the 3 things that define allyship, okay? So, at the count of 3, unmute ha. 1, 2, 3, unmute. Okay, unmute everyone. Allyship is, what's the first thing?
Yeah, being self-aware.
Self-aware.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So a second, what's the second thing?
Being intentional.
Intentional.
Perfect. Okay. One last, one third.
Action-oriented.
Perfect, everyone. All right. So very good. 100 kayong lahat. But yeah, so
Perfect.
these are the 3 quick things that we can remember when it comes to defining allyship. Now, we can become more active allies by, number 1, increasing our self-awareness through being critical of our privilege. Number 2, becoming more intentional in our strategies, having frameworks and models to track the DEI journey that our companies take. And 3, by taking a more action-oriented approach. We want to move from subtle acts of exclusion to intentional acts of inclusion. And with that is it for our webinar today, everyone. Ibalik natin sa Pride Month. I know allyship, we talked about it because it's not just something that we can do for the LGBTQIA community. But since it's Pride Month, I hope we can bring it back to it. What will you do to become a more active ally, specifically to the LGBTQIA plus community, whether it's for your friends who are in the community or your colleagues who are in the community, etc. All right? So one word or one phrase, what's something that you're going to do to be a more active ally? Let us know in the chat, please. All right. Give you a few more moments there to talk, okay? Respect to be more supportive, to cooperate. Oo, very much needed, di ba? Sabi natin kanina, konti pa lang yung quote-unquote straight people who are really identifying as allies and becoming more involved, right? So respect, to be self-aware. Yeah, that's one of the first things we can do, I think, is to really look inwards. To be inclusive of LGBTQIA plus individuals, especially when they're applying for jobs. Yeah, lalo na kung nasa recruiting ka, diba? Or hiring manager ka. Yep, embracing the uniqueness of everyone. I think at the end of the day, basic level of respect, diba? And courtesy yung gusto nating marating. Proclaim my support more, be more mindful, appreciation and inclusion, being more accepting and including them. Yes, knowing the basics of SOGI and inclusivity. On our page, we have a playlist there. If you look at yung mga nakapin na post, we have a playlist of YouTube videos. So we cut some clips from past workshops and past webinars. There's a webinar there about SOGI if you want to learn more and really get the basic definitions there. All right. So everyone, thank you so much for sharing your learnings. I'm providing support as well in group settings. I'm glad that these are things we can talk about more. I'm glad that you're here to learn with me and to celebrate Pride Month by trying to become more active and stronger allies. All right. So what's next? So I know I got a question here in the chat. The way we do Q&A here is I go through the reminders first, and then for those who need to go, you can leave. But for those who want to stay behind for questions, then we'll take the questions. All right. So balikan ko later yung question mo. All right. Okay. So what's next? First, please do connect with me. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then I'm going to ask all of you for a favor. Please, if you have like a minute or 2 minutes to spare, please leave a review on our page. So what happened is in 2021, we had a series of posts for Pride Month about using the pronouns they and them. But since 2021, every Pride Month, it actually gets brought up kasi medyo maraming hate comments and maraming haters yung post. Before, it didn't bother me, but this year, it's been worse. They've been commenting beyond just that specific post. Like, there were days I would get private messages, and then in our reviews as well. That's why our reviews in our page went down, because there are comments there. Well, yung pinaka-latest, ano lang, di ba? Very useless. Gay retard yung comment. Parang, di ba? Ano yun? Tapos, there are some comments saying, we take drugs, or that we promote bad behavior because we support the LGBTQIA plus community. So yeah, ayun. So I know dapat, diba, don't mind it. But the thing that happened is I actually am trying to apply for this opportunity. So it's not a job. I'm a consultant friend. Don't worry, I won't disappear. But there's this opportunity that I'm trying to get, and they actually check social media. So they said na, as much as possible, try to get the reviews up because that does affect the evaluations. So yun, if you have a minute or so to spare, please leave a review if you can. And then the next thing is, so for sure we have our, hold on, let me paste that in the chat. Napakwento ko dun. Okay. So we have the evaluation form that you can use to request for your e-certificate. So please click the link that I just pasted there in the chat. The form will be open for 2 hours. And then again, like what I mentioned earlier, we are going to give your certificates within 1 week. And then, of course, please join us in future webinars. We announce those webinars via our Facebook page. And if you would like to work with us in your organizations, just send us an email or message us on Facebook, whatever works for you. So again, I am pasting the evaluation link here in the chat. Please, please, please do not forget and make sure that you put your correct name and email. Because if you don't, I have no way of knowing who you are. I have no way of sending it to you. All right? And everyone, that is it for our Pride Month webinar. We're going to take some questions now for those who do not have any questions. And if you need to go, have a great, great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your June. And I'm going to see you next month for July. It's the second half of 2024. So ayan, ang bilis ng pangyayari, but I'm glad to have you all here. And then for those who have questions or want to stay, I'm going to start answering them now. All right. So the first question that I see here is, how can we measure the diversity and inclusion sa workplace? We are planning to have an index or questionnaire po kasi. Okay, very, very good question. There are tools out there, but kasi the ones that the consulting firms use, you pay for it. So my first suggestion is, ito muna. Number one, understand what kind of surveys you already currently have. Okay? Get a lay of the land. Ano yung ginagawa nyo na? Most companies have some sort of culture or climate survey, diba? Very common naman yan. So if your company already has a culture or a climate survey, number two that you can do is to look at the items in that survey. Is it asking questions around how safe do you feel in the environment? Are you able to open up to your colleagues? Do you feel that you can be authentic at work? So if may mga ganun ng tanong dun sa survey, then maybe you can use that to look into the diversity and inclusion in your company. Because number three thing that I encourage you to do is to first define what are the specific behaviors for your specific organization that would signal diversity and inclusion. For example, in your company, is it more around psychological safety or collaboration? Or is it more of the ability of leaders to coach? Try to get specific first, because from there, you'll be able to know better what you want to measure. Mahirap i-measure kung hindi natin alam kung ano yung gusto nating makita. So, dapat alam muna natin kung ano yung hinahanap natin. Alright? So, once you have that, you're actually at a pretty good place. Because if your company already has that culture survey, and you can use some of those items to track the behaviors related to diversity and inclusion, then you can continue using that same survey and just track the changes year over year. All right? So that's one suggestion, to already use what you currently have. Another suggestion would be to look at ano ba yung dimensions or outcomes of diversity and inclusion that you want. A popular example is psychological safety. Psychological safety, I'm typing it in the chat, okay? So psychological safety is a concept by Amy Edmondson. And I believe that the original articles were from the 1990s. The one I like to use is from 1999. If you search for a psychological safety scale, there's a 7-item scale that you can look for in the internet. It's for free and you can use that. It's a Likert scale. So make sure, ayan, type ko ha, para madaling hanapin. Likert scale. So make sure that you're using, you know yung Likert scale, diba? Yung may 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ayun. So make sure you're using a Likert scale to measure, and then read up on interpretation, because it takes a little bit of a statistical analysis to measure it. Hindi lang siya yung pag-mean. So you have to get the, sulat ko na lang sa chat para meron tayo lahat, okay? And you have to get the get the standard deviation, which you can do on Excel. Yan, okay? So, actually, I'm thinking baka maybe next month we can do a little bit of like data, mga data analysis techniques. Let's see. It's hard to do it for a webinar that's just an hour and 30 minutes. So let's see what we can do with that in the next few months. All right? Are there other questions, everyone? That's the one question that I got sent to. So pwedeng private message. That question was actually a private message. Yeah, for sure. I hope that helped. And any other questions? I'm just scrolling quickly, okay? Para sure na wala akong na-miss. For sure, yes. All right. I'm not seeing... Oh, intergenerational dynamics. Maybe you can expound on that question, but ayan, I still see Angel. Would you mind expounding? Yeah, feel free to chat or feel free to open your mic. What about intergenerational dynamics are you curious of?
Yeah. Hello, Eliza. So yeah, I was just curious about intergenerational dynamics, especially in this context, because, like you said, um, there's part of studies that we all know that a whole lot of people in upper management nowadays are, if not Gen X, they're boomers, right? And these concepts for them, not really Gen X, but more of the boomers, especially in senior management, people, BOT levels. So, syempre, it should start there kasi in an organization so that the DEI framework can be approved and ano. So, parang, I was wondering what are like, in your experience, like your best entry points to introduce allyship per generation. Kasi iba, like, I really see it in our organization kasi um, a whole lot of, like, especially the older Gen Z
Yeah.
is increasing in population sa organization namin. So parang there's very distinct languaging and interaction differences talaga. So na-observe ko. So it would be nice just to know or share what you've gone through so far and how you were able to introduce allyship, at least to each generation.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question, no. I love your question about like what's a great entry point, especially for leaders. For me, when I work with the clients, the entry point really is leadership development. So bakit? Because usually companies already have budget and resources for leadership development programs and not diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. So what we do is we we try to target what are the leadership development opportunities that are being offered for the year and how can we infuse DEI messaging there. One example would be there's always training on coaching and giving feedback. So very common yan for managers and for leaders. So what we do is when we design these workshops on these coaching skills, we also infuse it with the importance of coaching from an individual perspective. We talk about the importance of understanding the uniqueness of each person and the diversity of the people in their teams. So from there, we're already starting to give them some messaging on DEI. I think with leaders, it's important for them to see that DEI is not being done for the sake of DEI. So hindi lang siya dahil po-woke tayo, di ba? It's being done because it's actually related to the skill sets that make an employee and a leader more productive and more effective. So that's usually a gateway that we use, leadership development. And then, of course, another tip there would be to really use data as much as you can. You could get external data, look at the studies that show how companies are more productive and more successful when it comes to DEI, if they promote it. There are studies now that will say, like from a profit perspective, companies that have more diverse boards or more diverse leadership teams, companies that do more in DEI actually are more profitable. So that's the great thing about the external research nowadays. It's very robust. Internally, you can use whatever data you have, like culture surveys or climate surveys. Again, like what I said earlier to the first question, try to pick out what are some questions that could indicate inclusion in your organization, the presence or the absence of inclusion, and then use that data point. If you don't have yet any kind of survey data from your organization, it might be a good idea to start one. You don't have to already say that this is a diversity, equity, and inclusion survey. You can say that it's an employee satisfaction survey or a culture survey. These are usually terms that are more familiar for those older leaders who are boomers or Gen X. And so if they hear that familiar term, maybe more likely actually, they'd be more willing to try it out and to do it. Tapos pag may survey ka na ganun, then you can use that data to start pointing at and looking at the possible connections with diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ayun. So those are maybe just some things you can start with. And everyone, diba? I know we talk about a lot of these possible strategies and initiatives, but it really does take a lot of hard work. That's why I think it's great that you're all here as HR people or non-HR people, but are interested in the topic. It really is a journey, and it takes a lot of individual people to start bringing up these ideas, start talking about them in organizations. All right. So everyone, I'm not seeing any more questions. I think that should be it. Sending the link in the chat one last time. Do not forget to do that, please. And everyone, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to see you next month. Have a great rest of your week. Bye! Maraming thanks. Maraming